Thank you, Headmaster, and welcome, Bhavish. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation to be the chief guest. I know you had a wonderful interaction yesterday with the SC formers, and they had, by the way, given us great feedback of how you were both inspiring and seemed approachable. So big thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for inviting me and for having me. And yesterday's interaction was actually a very energizing interaction for me. And I was interacting with such bright youngsters, and some of the questions they asked were, frankly, questions that even 40, 50-year-olds don't ask. So the future looks bright, right? So really excited to be here.
Interestingly, they asked some of the questions I had thought I would ask today. So, so maybe I'll repeat some of them because this is a much larger audience, or maybe I'll skip. So let me first start. You had a very colorful life so far. You're young, but in this young period, you've actually had a very rich experience. Of course, I can claim some credit coming from the same city that you and I were brought up in.
Yes.
So let me go there for a minute, actually. This city has produced, incidentally, for everyone's benefit, Bhavish grew up in Ludhiana while he was not born there, but that's where his parents were, that's where he grew up. And Ludhiana as a city seems to have produced some unique leaders and entrepreneurs in different walks of life, especially in business. People say there's something special about that place, but they do say that about a few other places as well. Do you think there's anything to these kind of beliefs, or is it just wild beliefs?
No, sir. I think it's a very relevant point you start off with. Just a quick background. I grew up in Ludhiana. My parents are doctors in Ludhiana. They're still in Ludhiana. So in that sense, I grew up in a very comfortable middle-class upbringing, good values, middle-class upbringing. My father, mother, both have their own small medical practice in Ludhiana. And so, like you said, there's something special about small town India in general. The kind of fire, ambition, aspiration that we all have growing up in small towns. There's something unique about that. As a child growing up, I remember always wanting to look beyond the mountain and see, what does a Delhi look like? What does a Bombay look like? I want to go to those cities, learn about those places, contribute in those cities, or even internationally. And there's that fire which is there in every small town or every tier 2 city boy and girl. And I think that's what also makes Ludhiana special. And in addition to that, like you said, there are such illustrious people who have hailed from Ludhiana, people like yourselves and the whole hero group, people like Mr. Mittal. There's so many connections Ludhiana has in the world of business that as a young child growing up, you do look up to them and say, "Mujhe bhi aisa banna hai." I also want to do my bit in the world of business. Right? I remember when I was a school kid in one of the top schools in Ludhiana, people all around me were from business families. And I always used to wonder, what is a business family? Right? So I think there's something about the culture of business and the culture of entrepreneurship that is ingrained in Ludhiana.
Thank you. You started, I believe in 2008 or something, a blog or looking at India's technologists, new entrepreneurs. So clearly you were a little bit ahead of your time, because this recognition of startups and innovation is only very recent by the larger communities in India. Mm-hmm. What made you kind of look at this as something to do and something to focus on?
So, sir, when I was in Ludhiana, after I finished my schooling, I went to IIT Bombay to study engineering, and I was lucky enough to get into the college. And my time at IIT Bombay really opened me up to so many different experiences and exposures in life, and a wide variety of friends and connections. It was in IIT Bombay that I got exposed to technology, that I got exposed to business communities, and also, when you get into a place like IIT, you feel, coming from Ludhiana, you would have topped your city or state, and you feel like you're on top of the world. And when you get into IIT, you realize you're just one of the 500 other people. Right? There's nothing special about you. So your hunger comes back again, and you have to prove yourself again, and you have to rebuild yourself with a unique perspective and differentiation. So in that sense, my own interests started going deeper into technology. And I used to find myself reading about technology companies in the West late into the nights in my dorm room in college. So when I got my job, when I graduated in 2008 and got my first job at Microsoft, I decided I'll start something on the side, which is just to chronicle the Indian technology industry's journey. And at that time in 2008, there was nothing. So I started chronicling, and there was nothing to chronicle. so, so 2 years I worked at Microsoft in that job, and then I decided, instead of chronicling, let me actually try my hand at something. It's easy to chronicle; it's maybe much harder to actually do it. So 2010, I left my job, set up Ola. I was then also still a young 24-year-old kid who had no idea what I was getting into. But I think when you are young and you don't have anything to lose, that's when the best decisions happen, I guess.
Right. So I want to take you back a little bit. You obviously went through the JEE, and I believe you made more than one attempt, and the second one got you right on the top. You were in ranked at 23 or some such. So what made you stay on after the first? And is there something for us to learn from how you did this? What is this perseverance? Where does it come from?
Absolutely, sir. So my journey was that after I finished my 10th standard in Ludhiana, in one of the top schools in Ludhiana, I went to Kota to study for my IIT entrance exams along with my 11th and 12th standard. And at that time, Kota was, and even today, Kota is the premier center to go to where if you want to get into the IITs. Right. So I went to Kota, 2 years there. First time I was out of home. So first time I was experiencing freedom in my life. And as you can imagine, a young 14-year-old, first time experiencing freedom would do everything except study. Right. So 2 years, I did a little bit of studying, but I also had a bit of a growing up experience outside of home. So I couldn't get through to IIT in the first attempt. And I came back home to Ludhiana after that, not really disheartened because I was too young to be disheartened, frankly. I was just going through the motions. And then my father said to me, he sat me down and said, Beta, you have two choices. You can either join a good college in Punjab, let's say Thapar or something. And I had reasonable academics to join those colleges. Or if you want to give one more year, you can go into IIT, but the choice is yours. So I said, okay, Dad, let me sleep over it. So I slept over it. And then the next day I said, 1 year when I'm just 15, 16 years old doesn't make any difference. So I decided to give it one more shot. And, that 1 year taught me a lot because life is in many ways, when I look back, it's not about the failures you have, but it's about how you pick yourself up from those failures and in a resilient way, build towards your dreams. Right. So, time after time, that kind of getting yourself up has come in handy for me as for so many others in life.
So as the headmaster said in his introduction, while at Microsoft, you had filed 2 patents already, and you published 3 papers in international journals. What made you then leave that place? And what was it in you that drove you to become an entrepreneur? Because Microsoft is considered an amazing company.
Absolutely, sir. I had a very good job out of college. I was, 2 years, I really enjoyed my time there. And it was a job which was towards my interest in technology. So I was not doing management or analytics or anything. I was actually doing hardcore technology. So I was really enjoying myself working on cutting edge technologies, which would come out in the next few years. And I learned a lot, frankly, about the world of technology and business in those 2 years at Microsoft. But, at the back of my mind and, somewhere inside, there was always the Kida that I want to do something, and that had always remained in me from my upbringing in Ludhiana. Like I mentioned, being surrounded by people from business families and people who do business, looking up to them, it was always in me that I have to do something of my own, right? So I decided after 2 years at Microsoft that I will give it a shot, and I spoke to my parents while they did not understand why. They were supportive about it. Credit to my parents that they said, okay.
I believe there was also some pushback when your parents or your mother particularly said, you want to become a travel agent or a taxi operator?
That was actually my grandfather who said that.
Okay.
They couldn't understand what, in 2010, it was too early in the internet space to really understand what's happening. Right? This was not the exciting space it has become today. So they were concerned about their elder boy, as I would expect any parent to be. But credit to them, they stuck with me. They stuck with my whims and fancies. Let me experiment and let me have my own, bounces on my chin and learn from my own mistakes. So that's what led me to leave Microsoft, even though I was having a lot of fun there, a lot of enjoyment, a lot of learning. But sometimes you feel within yourself that you are while you are good at what you're doing right now, but there's something else you want to do, in line with your own dreams for yourself and what you aspire for, right? And in those times, if you follow your heart, it always ends up well, I guess.
So tell us a little bit more about following your heart. We've all, seen from the outside Ola's story. It's like a dream story. Tell us how this idea turned into this large, giant, multi-billion-dollar enterprise.
When we started off in 2010, sir, we were based in Mumbai. That's because that was my college city, me and my co-founder. And we used to live out of a BHK apartment, which was also our office. Right. So that's how we started off. So because we didn't have much personal money to invest, and our parents were also not really, it's not like we could have taken too much money from them. So we started off very, very small, very organic, led primarily by our own instincts and our aspirations. So we started with one city, which was Mumbai. We built a website where you could book intercity travel from Mumbai to Pune or Mumbai to Nashik, etc. And nobody used to, in 2010, book on the website. There was a phone number on the website, which was my personal phone number. So people used to call that. So I used to be the call center of Ola in 2010. so that was the origins of Ola. And over the years, as we grew bigger, as we learned more about the industry, as we learned more about the opportunity in the mobility ecosystem, we slowly expanded from one city to three cities to, in 2015, we expanded to 100 cities. And, over the years now, today, we are the largest mobility platform in India. And we've also expanded internationally. We operate in the UK and Australia, New Zealand. And we've also now broadened our business into electric vehicles, because that is what we believe the future of energy and the future of transportation. So all these steps have been a series of decisions. Every 3-4 years, we are faced with a decision and a fork in the road, if you may say so, where do you want to keep doing what you're doing, or do you want to try something else and try something which might scare you again, right? Thankfully, we've always so far come out good on the other side. I think, it's the journey of an entrepreneur, the journey of a business leader, and frankly, the journey of everyone, all the students of Doon School, such young, bright aspirations amongst them. There will always be such folks in the road for everybody, right? And in the end, if you follow your heart and back yourself to succeed, you will succeed.
Well said. I want to take you back a little bit into teams, because you are now a large organization. There is much written about the systems, processes, management style in the organization. We had, interestingly, recently at Doon School, we were asked some questions as to why so many teachers have left. So I said, frankly, it makes me sad and it makes me glad. Sad because it's always sad to see a family member leave. Glad because many of them went on to become leaders of schools. There are more than 36 schools today whose heads are former teachers of the Doon School. And some of them went to be with their families. And some, frankly, the school was not happy with. So it's an interesting thing. But what we have brought in as new talent is absolutely fantastic. Each replacement we have attempted to see if we can do even better. We had good people, but this gave us an opportunity. What are the opportunities that you look at? Where is it, whenever there's a problem or a crisis, that you find a way to get better?
So, like you said, organizations are absolutely important. And as the institution or the company evolves, organizations also evolve with it, and people also evolve with it. There is never the perfect answer for perpetuity, right? When we were a small company, we had a very different kind of an organization. It was we all could fit into one room, and we all could meet each other every day. The role of systems and processes was minimal. Speed and hustle meant everything. To when, let's say we were a relatively mid-sized organization 3-4 years ago, we started putting in some systems. We also realized that some of the people who had grown with us till then were good, but we needed a very different kind of talent to bring in more strategic outlook, more industry experience. So we changed our organization at that point. And even today, where we are, we have, as an organization, as Ola, we have further inflected to broaden the kind of organization we are. It's a very good mix of youth, young people who have continued with us, as well as experience. Youth are able to bring a kind of energy and passion, and frankly, a new perspective to an old problem statement. And experienced people know what mistakes not to make because the youth will make the mistakes, and the experienced people know what mistakes not to make. So I've tried to build Ola as a blend of both cultures, young and old. And I have the easy job in that sense because I'm in the middle now. I'm neither young nor old, right? So I get to play
But
both sides.
how do you get these people to believe in your dream?
So
It is
I
a
think,
dream which is driving you and driving the organization.
yeah. So in the end, the dream is what drives everybody. And if you look at our ambition and our vision, right, we want to create a sustainable future for ourselves, and we all also want to create a country where India is the most technologically advanced economy in the world. And we believe, as the youth, as a young company, we have a major role to play in that transformation. And if you look at the India of today, there are so many opportunities for youngsters and young organizations like ourselves. India is a large enough market economy. India has access to capital. Companies like Ola have access to capital. 20 years ago, this ecosystem was not there. India is digitizing in a very fast way. India is increasingly becoming a more closer integrated part of the global value chains and the global demand and supply chains. So in many ways, this is the moment. This is the time when the youth, our generation, we have the opportunity as well as the responsibility to make the most of the decade in front of us and truly transform the country and transform ourselves. And the domain we have picked up at Ola is mobility, because mobility is core to human society. Mobility is core to human progress. And if we can help move mobility forward by building future technological paradigms here in India for the entire world, right? Be it electrification, be it shared mobility, be it new ways of retail around mobility or financial services. I believe that's a massive impact we all can, as Ola, leave behind for our communities. And that's something that energizes me. That's something that energizes everybody at Ola. This mission of doing something which can add a lot of value, and frankly, doing something which has not been done before, and doing it at the scale.
Yep, that's great. Because clearly scale allows you to have impact which you cannot otherwise have. So tell me, what lessons, since we are in the middle of this right now, what lessons has the pandemic taught you?
So the pandemic has been, frankly, the most transformative event for all of us, and especially for me and for Ola. It has really taught us that we need to think about sustainability in more holistic way. And sustainability doesn't just mean environment. Sustainability means communities. Sustainability means cost structures of our businesses. It obviously means the environment. If you look at today, the awareness of the need for having a much more pro-environment business model is much higher than 2 years ago. The need for having a business model which is much more empathetic towards the communities it serves is much more higher than 2 years ago. And the need for having more sustainable cost structures as businesses is much more relevant today than 2 years ago. And these are the three themes that we took on when we got into the pandemic 1.5 years ago. We had the big choice to make around business models. We decided that we will accelerate our journey into electrification. We also decided to go deeper and build a better platform for our entire driver ecosystem in our ride-sharing business. And we also took a deep, hard look at our cost structures and realized that there's a lot of better work we have to do as a company to become more sustainable and, frankly, more profitable, right? So that we can continue to serve our communities and serve the mission that we have taken on, right? And kudos to the team at Ola that we have been able to get towards that journey. A lot of it is still ahead of us. But those are three themes which I believe are relevant not just for Ola, but for any entity, because consumers today versus consumers 2 years ago, governments today versus governments 2 years ago, businesses today versus businesses 2 years ago, everything is different. And now looking ahead, we have to really realize our full potential individually and as our own organizations. We really need to get control of these macro trends that are happening.
Fantastic. Bhavish, I have to thank you for this absolutely wonderful, short but meaningful interaction. So what you're saying is it's eventually all about people's interaction with communities and with the planet. So to get a way to align all of these interests is the best way to be successful for yourselves, for your organization, and for society at large. So thank you very much, Bhavish. This is truly appreciated. Thank you for being the chief guest. And at some other occasion, we would certainly like to invite you to visit the Chandbagh campus, walk around the place, talk to the students physically and also talk to our faculty and staff.
Absolutely,
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to being there in person. Thank you.